Hi everybody, and welcome back to Accounting 482. This is session 14, and we're going to pick up right where we left off last time with the master budget. In session 13, we created the sales budget and the schedule of cash collections. And you might think, why are we doing this schedule of cash collections? We're going to need that information in our cash budget. So we want that information here. It comes off of this sales budget, and so that we've got this taken care of, and we can just work on the cash budget when we get there. So we're going to move on to the production budget today. And the production budget already has our headings in there, which is great because we already know how to do that, so we don't want to do that again. And what we want to do is we want to go to the document where, what information do we need to put this together? So we've the basic information page, sales information, collections information, we've done all that. Now here's the inventory information, and that's going to come off of our for our production budget. So in order to avoid dips in production and sales, the production department needs to have a supply of inventory on hand at the end of each quarter. So when you're creating something, unless it's fast food, or any kind of food process, you would stop production and clean everything up, and it would be empty. Everything would be empty. But if you're producing bicycles, you would have some on hand from last quarter so that you can continue selling those bikes and making new ones for this next quarter. So their policy is to have 15% of the subsequent quarter's finished inventory needs ready to go when the current quarter ends. So what does that mean? That means that if they want to sell 6,000 bikes in the next quarter, they want to have 15% left at the end of this quarter so that they can do that. They want to be able to, you cannot reach your sales goals if you do not have the inventory to sell. And because of the speed of their suppliers, Bob's only needs 10% of its necessary raw materials on hand. So you want to keep moving, and there's nothing worse than waiting to build bikes and you have all these frames and no tires. So they want to keep 10% of their necessary raw materials on hand so that they can continue producing the bikes. So with that information, we're going to go to our Excel spreadsheet. And what we're going to do is we're going to make the titles first, and then we're going to go over to the basic information sheet, because we're going to be adding in the 10%, the 15% that we're going to need. We'll be doing that on the basic information page. So we want to type our titles, and we've got the normal bikes, and you'll see that this is very common. Every page will have the normal bikes, specialty bikes. So that will make it a little easier for you to understand what we're doing. And then the next line down, indenting to be, we've already got this template set up so that A is a small column, B is a small column, and C is a larger column. And Dr. Porter is the one who designed this, and he did this so it's just easier for us. If you're starting a new Excel spreadsheet, you will have to create these different cell widths, and it's really simple to do. You just click on that and just move it. Okay, so it's pretty easy to do, but this is all set up for us, and it really helps us speed along because there's a lot to get to. Okay, so we want our budgeted sales. Sales, and where do we get that? From our sales budget, right? And we'll be putting that in, but we want to get the titles in because this is it's not as intuitive as you would think, but you probably were exposed to this in Accounting 202. And we want to add, so it'll be familiar to you, but we'll really solidify it here. Add desired ending inventory. Okay. And then once you do that, we're going to get a total units needed. And then we're going to subtract And if I'm going too fast, again, pause the video. Um, I'm trying to make the videos shorter so that you can spend less time doing this and more time working on the assignments. Although right now we have it's not as crazy as it was before the test. Beginning inventory. Oops. Yeah, I know. So glad I'm not a brain surgeon. Oops is bad there, but a typo's not too bad. Required normal bike production. Okay, so I'll give you a second to get those titles in. And now we're going to go and link our budgeted sales. Okay, so we want to link these. We're going to, this is going to be a formula, equals to the quarter one, and we want the budgeted sales for quarter one. We're going to go to the sales budget, and we are going to get our 4,000 right here for Q1, and we're just going to hit enter, and then we're going to just carry that over. Okay. And since these on the sales budget are already in there, it's just going to pull that over. Now, for year two total, we're going to have to do a sum here because this is on the sales budget, but it's not directly the next number. It's, you know, it's not, because the cells pull the number like this 4,000, and it pulls the number next to it. The next number on the sales budget is your Q3 of your Q1 of year 3, but we want an auto sum here. So we're just going to use the auto sum, which is kind of cool. I really like to use that. And that's going to give us our year 2 total. And then we're going to go back and link year 3 Q1 right here. So now we have our budgeted sales. But what is our desired inventory? We need to calculate that, but first we have to go to the basic information page and put that in. And I'm going to change this one here because I want to make sure that I do it right. So many mouses. Okay. So now here, we're going to start in this cell right here, and we're going to use a function we haven't used before, and that is the left or the right justify. So it's this third, okay, we've used center and we've used left justify. Now we're going to use the right justify. And what that'll do is it'll always keep our ending title right here because we'll be doing math here. So we want to do raw materials purchasing goal. And I have a colon there. And that from our document is 10%. Okay, I just want to make sure you know where I got that 10%. And that is 10%. All right. And the next one, I again need to do the right justify. Ending inventory. Production goal. And that is the 15% on the document right here. 15%. Ah, no, I do not want that. 15%. And then we need to know our beginning inventory so that we can calculate these numbers. So we are going to use right justify again, and we're going to type in normal, oops, normal bicycles on hand, and that is on 1/1, okay, the first of the year. And then we're going to go ahead and type, using right justify, specialty bicycles on hand, and at the same time, and a colon. Okay. So our normal bicycles on hand, we're going to link this from the sales budget. Oh, I so lied. Okay, let's go back here. We're not going to link. And if you do that, I do that all the time, just delete it. Because if you start clicking, it'll end up on different cells and it'll make you crazy. So if you start doing a formula and you are wrong, then you can go and just delete it, and then you're going to be fine. So to get the normal bikes on hand for one the beginning of the year, we will use a formula, and I just lost my train of thought there because I wanted to tell you that in actuality, normally what you would go out and do is you would physically count all the bikes. How many do we have on hand at the first of the year? And retail and production companies are required to do that because they want to account for any shrink. And shrink is theft or loss or damaged goods that were thrown away. So if you say you have a 4,000 on hand, but you physically go out and count them and you only have 3,985, you would put the 3,890 or 3,985 in there, and you would just write off those 15. And that would be something that the loss prevention manager would go investigate, what happened to those. But we're not concerned with that. We're just concerned with doing our budget. So our normal bikes on hand is a physical inventory, but we're going to estimate it here because we don't have our warehouse. We're not in our warehouse. We're in our homes or cars or wherever we're doing our, our homework. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to be a formula, and we're going to go to the sales budget, and we're going to have 4,000, and we're going to multiply that by the 15% ending inventory. And that's where we're going to get 600 bikes. And I'll put that back up and I'll explain that again. We want to have 15% of our subsequent quarters sales on hand at the first of the quarter. So 15% of 4,000 is 600 bikes. And that is an estimate because we haven't physically gone out and counted those. But we need a starting point, and so that's what we're going to use. Now, the specialty bikes are new, so we don't have any of those on hand. We haven't started building them, so that's a 0. Okay? And now we can go and finish our sales budget. Oh, yes, and we need to make that our color. Let's see here. All kinds of colors. There we go. We need to make that our assumption color because we have typed those in. Even though that's a formula, the 600 is a formula, it's an estimate typed in basically on our part. Okay, so now we're at the production budget. Now our add desired ending inventory right here, I'm going to pop back over, is I know. 15%. I know. I thought, okay, now I have done this so many times and it's a huge budget. So unless you do it over and over and over and over, it's hard to remember everything. So the desired ending inventory is going to be 15% of this 6,000. So it's 6,000 multiplied by the 15% ending inventory production goal. And you can do F4 here because that's a permanent reference. And by the way, I fixed my F keys. There's an F lock on my keyboard, and I didn't even know about that, but my husband did, so he helped me. So now I can hit F4. And what I wanted to show you before when it didn't work is if you hit F4 one time, it's going to create a permanent link for the row and the column. And if you hit it twice, it's going to give you a permanent column and a non-permanent row. And then if you hit it one more time, it's going to give you a permanent column and not a permanent row. Did I say that backwards? I think I did. Okay, so permanent row and column, permanent row, but not a permanent column, a permanent row and not a permanent column. There we go. But we want permanent row and column because we always want it to come back to this cell. And then we're going to click there and it's going to give us our 900. Now, because we made that permanent, we can go all the way over to Q3. And now we can't do that. Can we go there? Let me go one more time. Oh, no, it's not going to do that. Okay. So we just clicked out of that. And now Q4 is going to be 15% of this number. So we just can't go because it'll give us 15% of the yearly total. So now we want to click this number here and multiply it by the 15%. And I'm going to make that a permanent link because we want to keep it there. So that's going to give us our 570. Now, for year 2, we're just going to take the Q4 number and put it for our desired ending inventory because we'll end with 570 in Q4 and the year will have that much. And then to get our year 3 number, Q1, we're going to have to go back to the sales budget and we're going to have to take this Q2 of year 3 and multiply that by the 15%. And that's going to give us our numbers. Now we want to put our underline in there because now we're going to do some math, okay? And we're going to take this and we're going to multiply our add our budgeted sales, and we're going to add our desired inventory. And again, you can do it. You can do an auto sum here, or you can do what I just did to get your number. And then you can just run that formula across. And then you're going to get a 0 here, and you can just delete that. Okay, so you've got all your numbers. I'll just wait for a second so you can get all those in. Okay, now we're going to have to subtract off our beginning inventory. And since we're here, I will show you this, what we're doing, because it's a little complicated. We want to start with our budgeted sales, and we want to have enough. We want to know what we need to have at the end of the quarter so that we can make the ones that we are using, to sell. We need to make the bicycles that we need to sell. And then we need to subtract off the beginning inventory because right now we need to make the 4,000 plus 15% of quarter two. And that's going to give us a total units needed of 4,900. But we want to subtract off the beginning inventory because we started with some, so that we need to know how many we need to make all this happen. So our beginning inventory, if we go back to our basic information page, is 15% of the prior year. So we're going to be using that 600. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an equals, and then we're going to do a subtraction. And it's just a dash or a subtraction. You can use, if you have a keyboard, like a 10 key on your keyboard, you can use the minus function, or you can use the equal, and you probably already know that. And then we're going to link this to the 600 on our normal bicycles on hand, because we already have 600. And that's going to give us a normal bicycle of minus 600, but we want to format that for the accounting. Oh, did you guys hear that? That was really loud. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we want to say, call it a number, and then we want to have no decimals. We want to use the L separator, and we want to go to this black negative number with parentheses. And that's the formatting that we want to use. And then I'm going to do format painting, because all of these will need to be in the parentheses. So now here, equals, which is bring up a formula, negative, and then we just want to click to there, because if we have a desired ending inventory of 900, we will, in quarter one, we're going to subtract 900 from what we need to make in quarter two, because we already had them. And then now from here, you can do, I'm hoping that we can do that. And it did work. Yes, it brought them all down. And I believe we can do one more. Yes. No, that is wrong. So we want to delete that. This is going to be equal to quarter one for the year. And then for the first quarter in year three, this one will have to be the 570. And I'm going to pull it from Q4, because everything else is linked to Q4. So if that number changes, then this will change and this will change. Okay. And now we're going to underline this. And then we're going to do a required bike production. And here again, you can either take the total number of units needed plus the negative number, which is going to subtract it. And that's going to give you what you need. And then you can just run that formula across and delete it. And that's our production budget. And we're going to go here and do a double bottom border, because that means we're done with this. Yay. Okay, so what is this little green square here? This means that these, and Excel is great telling you like, hey, this formula is different than the one you had before it. And sometimes that's great because you have made a mistake. But in this instance, we know what we did. So this one came from the basic information page, and these came from this page. And that's what it's telling you. Hey, this is different. And that one's even different than that one. So that's all it's telling you. But we are okay with it. We know what we're doing. Thanks Excel, but we know what we're doing. So now the next thing we need to do the same thing with the specialty bikes. Now you can do what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you do the specialty bikes on your own. Did I spell that right? Okay. So I'm going to have this one, I'm going to have you work on the specialty bikes by yourself, and then I'm going to be doing it here. So I just want you to practice linking everything. And okay, I did the quick copy and paste, and I've got the numbers correct. And if you copy and paste, it will bring down the formula, most of them. And then you have to, like this, I had to play with this one because it didn't pull that down. It could have worked if I would have put a permanent link, but I didn't. So you can see how you can put a permanent link and not put a permanent link, but all of my numbers are here. And so the next budget is pretty intense. The direct materials budget is by far the longest budget. So I'm going to cut this video now because we're on track. So I'll let you work on this and get all these links in. Make sure you got everything linked. And then I'll be back with the next video with the direct materials budget. Okay, thank you, and we'll see you next time.